Hello and welcome back to Simple-ESL and our academic English course. This is part 3 and we're going to be focusing on writing and referencing, developing advanced writing ideas, how to reference and some presentation skills. This course is aimed at a C1 to C2 level, so we're looking at a good level of fluency to be doing this course. If you would like to access and get the worksheets, these are available on our Patreon page. You can pay a one-off fee or you can subscribe to get access to all of our materials at Simple-ESL. And what are the learning objectives? By the end of this lesson, you will be able to write coherent, cohesive academic essays. You'll be able to use citation and referencing accurately, so you won't get in trouble for plagiarism. Apply advanced academic grammar and vocabulary to sound more professional, more fluent, and to write those really good essays to get good grades. And we'll present academic arguments effectively, so we can give presentations and take part in seminars and arguments and conversations. Now, we're going to jump straight into a bit of grammar focus. Parallel structure. In academic writing, we use parallel structure, sometimes called parallelism. Parallelism. Very difficult to say. One more time, parallelism. To make sentences sound balanced, logical, and easy to read. So, parallel structure, we're going to make balanced sentences. The parallel structure means using the same grammatical form for items in a list or series. When we mix the verb forms or structures, it can sound awkward or unbalanced. Let's take a look at some examples. The study aims to test the hypothesis, gathering data, and to analyze the results. This doesn't quite sound right. It sounds awkward. It doesn't flow nicely. What sounds a lot better? The study aims to test the hypothesis, gather data, and analyze results. In this correct version, all verbs follow the same pattern: to test, gather, and analyze. This balance improves the rhythm, clarity of the academic writing. So a further example, the project will require planning, organization, and to evaluate progress. So the project will require planning, organization, and to evaluate progress. We need to change these all to one form. How about if they were all nouns? The project will require planning, organization, and evaluation. This is much better. Students should read widely, think critically, and writing clearly. Let's turn these all to verbs. Students should read widely, think critically, and write clearly. Okay, so this structure is much better and takes away, for example, writing, changes it to write clearly, think critically, read widely. So it's important when we're thinking about parallel structure. Each item on the list should follow the same structure. There should either be all verbs, all nouns, or all adjectives. With parallel structure, it is especially important to think about the essay outline. It's important to think about academic writing, the research objective. So next time you're writing out your list or you're going through things, think about this balance and make sure you're using all the same structure. Transitions and linking words. There's going to be some useful academic vocabulary for you writing your essays. Transition words and phrases are used to make writing seem logical, clear, and connected. They help the readers follow ideas easily and understand how each sentence or paragraph relates to the next. We use transitions to add ideas. So we could say furthermore, in addition, moreover. We can use it to show contrast. However, nonetheless, or nevertheless, whereas. And we can use it to show results or conclusions, therefore, consequently, as a result. Without transitions, writing can sound disjointed. Academic writing relies on them to create flow and coherence. So let's practice by trying to fill in the blanks with a suitable transition. And I'll give you some suggested answers. Online learning offers flexibility. It requires strong management skills, time management skills. We could say, however, online learning offers flexibility. However, it requires strong time management skills. The research was limited to one region. Further studies are needed. We could say, therefore, the research was limited to one region. Therefore, further research is needed. So we can use however or therefore. Now, important to consider here the punctuation. Transitions like however or therefore are usually followed by a comma, and we can see that in our examples. So think about this when you are using however, therefore, for example. Structuring your essay. Okay? An academic essay follows a clear structure. This helps us to understand your argument and helps you to address the issue in your essay. We'll start with introduction. So you introduce the topic and present your main argument or thesis statement. We then have body paragraphs. This is an area where you can develop and support your thesis with examples, evidence, analysis, quotes, and citations, which we will go into shortly. And conclusion. Summarize your main points and explain the significance or implications of your argument. This structure keeps your writing logical and ensures every part has a clear purpose. Let's take a look at some further examples. Read each example sentence below and then decide whether it belongs in the introduction, or if you think it belongs in the body, or would it belong in the conclusion. So let's have a look at some sentences. This essay will examine the impact of social media on academic performance. That would be an introduction. Okay, we're introducing the topic, the idea. The findings suggest that students who use social media moderately achieve higher engagement levels. This is giving our evidence, our proof. So we would say this is a body paragraph sentence. In conclusion, social media can enhance learning when used responsibly. Clearly, it's conclusion. We're summing up, we're summarizing our perspective. Recent research highlights that excessive use of online platforms may reduce study focus. This is a body paragraph. It provides additional supporting evidence. Understanding these patterns can help educators promote healthy online habits among students. This is a conclusion. It is giving your interpretation or the implication from the results. Now, every essay must include a clear goal, a clear thesis in the introduction. This is a great way of setting it up. Topic sentences in the body should link back to these ideas, and the conclusion should not add new information. It should restate the argument, the wider importance, and pull from the body sentences, the body paragraphs. So your conclusion shouldn't drop new information. That is for the body paragraphs to do. Academic introductions. So in academic writing, your introduction sets the stage for the entire essay. A strong introduction can set up a really good essay. So a strong introduction should have present background information, so you can briefly introduce the topic so the reader understands the context. You should define key terms or issues, clarify important concepts that appear in your essay, and end with a clear statement, a clear thesis statement, the main argument or purpose of your essay. Here's an example. In recent years, artificial intelligence has become integral to multiple industries. This essay examines its impact on employment and ethical considerations. You have laid out what you are going to do, how you're going to do it, and what you're going to talk about. It gives context, identifies the topic, and clearly states the focus. A really great way to start your essay. So in your own time, I would like you to practice by writing your own introduction for an essay about global education. Something similar to what was done there. But I'll give you another example. Education has become increasingly globalized in the 21st century, with students and teachers connecting across borders through technology and exchange programs. Global education promotes cultural understanding and prepares learners for international collaboration. This essay explores the benefits and challenges of implementing global education in modern classrooms. This is a fantastic model answer, if I may say so myself, and one that you should be aiming to hit. This is the sort of level we're looking for when it comes to your academic introductions. Referencing. We touched on this in part 2. I'm going to touch on it again because it is essential to acknowledge the ideas and research of others so you avoid plagiarism. Proper referencing not only gives credit to the original authors, but allows you to avoid plagiarism, which is presenting someone else's work as your own. At university, this will result in you at best getting a 0 or marks reduced. At worst, could result in you being removed from the course and no longer being allowed to attend that university. It is a huge problem, and also be careful when using AI sources. This would fall under similar boundaries with plagiarism. Citing sources also strengthens your argument. It shows that you have done the research, you've gone to credible sources, not Wikipedia, not ChatGPT, and you are showing your points. So let's take a look at an example. This is something I've made up, but it's an example of the APA style of citation and referencing. Okay, so we are going to go for Smith, 2022, argues that globalization has reshaped higher education. Here the writer has included the author's surname, the publication year, and this is called in-text citation. So I'd like you to practice with your own in-text citation. I want you to write about a book or an article you've recently read. You need to include the author's year, the reporting verb, and the idea or finding. So for example, Johnson 2021 found that digital learning improves student engagement. Paraphrasing and quoting. So these are important ideas to gather information and bring into your own ideas in academic writing. It's important to include other people's ideas and how they matter. There are two main ways. There are paraphrasing, which is restating an idea in your own words while keeping the original meaning. And there's quoting, using the exact words from a source with quotation marks and citation, as we just discussed. We usually use paraphrasing because it shows you understand the idea and you can express in your own academic style. We would use quotations when we want to pull another person's information and show our understanding of reading and learning from them. So let's take a look at this. Students benefit from feedback. To paraphrase, receiving regular feedback improves student performance. This example keeps the meaning the same but uses different words and sentence structure. So this is effective paraphrasing. Online collaboration enhances student engagement. How could we rewrite this? We could say working together online increases students' participation and involvement. Virtual teamwork helps students stay more engaged in their learning. Engaging in online group work promotes higher levels of student interaction. So when we are paraphrasing, we are changing both the vocabulary and the structure to show ideas that we have learned. So don't swap a few words, we are demonstrating our understanding. Paraphrasing can still require citation. Okay, so if you're pulling an idea from someone and you want to show you have read their book and you're using paraphrasing, you can still cite that author. If you're quoting, it's best to use the exact wording. For instance, definitions and strong statements. You want to use these definitions and strong statements in your quotes, but always cite your sources. Show your learning and show that you are not plagiarizing or copying someone else's work. You are learning from their work. Very useful if you want to have someone give evidence in a way to something you believe. That's a great way of using citations and quotes. Conditionals in academic writing. Conditionals are sentences that describe a cause and effect relationship or a possible result. Okay, they are very useful in academic writing to discuss outcomes, predictions, or logical relationships. If a student receives feedback, they'll improve faster. So if they get the feedback, then the result, they'll improve faster. Research quality increases when funding is consistent. Both of these examples show one action leads to the other. The cause, feedback or funding, and the result, improvement and quality. So let's try ourselves. We want to write 2 conditional sentences related to academic study. So use your own examples and follow the same pattern. Here are some example answers. If students manage their time effectively, they achieve better results. If universities provide more resources, research output will be increased. Okay, so I would encourage you to use if or when you're structuring these, so you can show real and possible conditions. So if or when. Now we can use zero conditionals, which are used for facts or general truths, or first conditionals, which are real possibilities. So zero conditional, if students study regularly, they'll perform better. This is a fact or general truth. If the sample size is increased, the results will be more accurate. This is a real possibility that this will happen. What is the purpose? Identifying the writer's purpose. Every sentence serves a role, a purpose. To inform, argue, or analyze. Writers also use certain phrases or signals to express their viewpoint or attitude. Let's read this text, and I would like you to answer the questions. Universities are under pressure to balance research excellence with teaching quality. Some argue that both are essential for long-term academic success. Can you see what the writer is presenting? There is both context and opinion here. What is the writer's purpose? The writer's purpose is to discuss the balance between research and teaching in universities and to present an argument about equal importance. Which phrases signal the writer's opinion? What gives you that information? The phrase, some argue that both are essential for long-term academic success, shows the opinion or stance. We use some argue that to indicate that there's interpretation or evaluation. This is a viewpoint and an academic viewpoint and an academic phrase that we can use. Presentations. No one likes doing a presentation and speaking in front of people. Presentations are a vital way to communicate research and ideas clearly. Listening carefully to others speak helps us learn how to structure and deliver our own presentations effectively. When listening to academic talks, pay attention to 3 key features. How ideas are organized. Notice how the speaker moves logically from background to key points, then to conclusion. Transitions between points. Listen for linking phrases like firstly, in contrast, to summarize, which will make the talk easier to follow. Firstly, we're in the introduction. To summarize, we're in the conclusion. Tone and pronunciation. Observe how the speaker's tone changes to highlight important information or signal a shift in topic. By analysing these elements, you'll be able to both improve your listening comprehension and your own presenting skills. And if you'd like some practice with this, why not take a look on YouTube at like a TED talk or on a university lecture, and I would like you to make notes on the main points and transitions used. So main points, the definition, examples, conclusion. Transitions, firstly, moving on to, finally. And the tone. Was it clear and slow during the introduction of definitions? Or was it fast during the examples? Take note of this and watch some videos. Arguments. Presenting your own ideas in an academic setting and presenting an argument means more than just sharing your opinion. It's about building a logical, evidence-based case. When you present your ideas, follow these 4 steps. Start with a clear statement. Introduce your main idea or claim. So, for example, online learning provides more flexibility for students than traditional classrooms. Support it with evidence. Use data, examples, and references to strengthen your argument. According to a 2022 study, 78% of students reported improved time management through online learning. This is backing up our statement. Acknowledge opposing views. Recognize there are other perspectives to show balance and critical thinking. However, some critics argue that online learning reduces social interaction. This shows you're taking into account other perspectives and you have done your research. Then conclude confidently. Restate your position based on evidence. Despite these challenges, online learning remains a valuable tool for accessible education. This gives strong arguments and combines clarity, evidence, and academic tone. An activity for you to do, present a 2-minute summary of research or on an academic topic that you are interested in. I want you to include the example. So here's my example. So I want you to include main statement. AI can improve learning efficiency. Your evidence. AI tools personalize feedback, helping students focus on their weaknesses. The opposing view. Some believe AI limits teacher-student interaction. And the conclusion. When used responsibly, AI complements teachers and enhances student outcomes. Go off now and create your own arguments. So I'd like to take a look at modal verbs. We can use modal verbs to express degrees of certainty, obligation, or possibility. This can make the language we use sound more precise and balanced, especially when discussing research findings, recommendations, or limitations. The researchers must ensure data accuracy. This can show a strong obligation. The results may suggest a trend, possibility. The policy should be reviewed regularly, a recommendation. So using these modal verbs helps us to show how confident or cautious we are and is an important part of academic tone. So I'd like us to practice with some of these sentences, use the appropriate modal verb, and I've given you the situation as a hint. The findings indicate a connection between diet and mood. This is a possibility. So we would say, may. Students submit their assignments before the deadline. This is an obligation, so we could say must. They must do a thing. Shows the obligation. Research, future research, focus on long-term behavioural change. A recommendation. Should. Future research should focus on long-term behavioural change. So, synthesizing information. In academic writing, synthesis means combining ideas from multiple sources to create one single coherent point or paragraph. Instead of summarizing each source separately, we can connect their ideas to show relationships, such as agreement, contrast, or progression. This skill demonstrates critical thinking, and also it can show how you can interpret in little bits of information rather than just repeating it. Okay, so this is a useful skill, and we can use linking phrases and appropriate citation to do this. Let's give a demonstration. Both Smith 2021 and Lee 2023, so 2 separate pieces of information proving the same point, emphasize the collaboration improves research productivity, particularly when supported by institutional funding. This combines two sources that make similar points, and we use linking language like both, particularly, or particularly when, and. So the results are unified and flows naturally within academic writing. Let's combine these two short statements. Johnson 2020 found that online learning increases student independence. Garcia 2022 reported that virtual classrooms encourage self-directed study. How can we combine these two? We can use this. Both Johnson 2020 and Garcia 2022 highlight that online learning promotes independent and self-directed study among students. So we've used both and. So that's a great way of combining, synthesizing information into one coherent point, especially when the two sources prove one point. Some common mistakes as we're coming toward the end of our lesson. In academic writing, precision and clarity are essential. Even advanced writers sometimes make errors. I've made errors in this presentation. Okay? But it is important that we try to correct these errors, and we want to make your work sound formal and credible. So let's look at these common mistakes and how we can correct them. Overgeneralizing statements. Avoid saying things that sound absolute or lack evidence. Everyone agrees that technology is good for education. This isn't true. Many researchers suggest that technology can enhance specific aspects of learning. This version is more accurate, cautious, and supported by evidence. Avoid missing references. Academic writing must show where information comes from. Studies show that climate changes affects all regions equally. What studies? Name the study. According to Johnson 2022. By adding the reference, it strengthens the credibility and you'll avoid plagiarism. Okay? Poor paragraph transitions. Each paragraph should connect smoothly to the next. Technology benefits students. Assessment methods are changing. These don't link. So let's use some of our linking. Let's find a way to synthesize this. While technology benefits students, it has also influenced modern assessment methods. Linking the ideas maintains flow and gives a logical progression. And we have come to the end of our lesson. And what have we touched on in today's lesson? Well, today we've practiced how to structure and reference academic writing. We know how to use advanced grammar accurately. We did some presentation and synthesized ideas effectively. Homework task. I would like you to discuss what responsibilities do researchers have towards participants? Should all studies be made publicly available? Use academic expressions such as "it is widely accepted that." This raises the question of, along with some of the other structure we have learned today, to form your argument. And if you'd like more practice with the things touched on in this lesson and access to the rest of the course, go to our Patreon page. It can be found at allmylinks.com/simple-ESL21, where you can also get money off tutoring, access to worksheets and lessons. The link is also in the description. And we will see you in our next lesson and our next part of the course, part 4.